Welcome to the Bulletin Podcast for the Willy Brandt School of Public Policy at the University of Erfurt. I'm your host, Maria Brackin, and my goal is to interview the fascinating students and researchers in the Brandt School and to hear experiences and voices from all over the world. Joining me today as co-host is Raphael Robiatti, project coordinator, co-founder of the Bulletin blog, and current PhD candidate at the University of Erfurt. Welcome, Raphael.
Thank you, Maria, for having me.
We have a very special show for you today. Joining us are applicants for the 2018 Commitment Award, a yearly prize for fascinating, innovative, and new social projects. The Commitment Award promotes the attitude of challenging the status quo and bringing positive change to the world. Since 2012, the Brandt School and the Engagement Prize Foundation have worked in close cooperation to organize the award. The Engagement Prize Stiftung promotes education, international ethos, tolerance in all cultural matters, and international understanding, as well as civil commitment. In the multicultural and diverse setting of the Brandt School, the Commitment Award seeks to give students the opportunity to apply what they have learned at the Brandt School and to take new social initiatives in Erfurt and around the world. Each year, 3 winning projects are chosen after careful evaluation of the applications by a jury of experts. The jury includes members from politics, civil society, and the private sector. The award ceremony will take place this year on Thursday, the 12th of July, at the Thüringer Zentrum für Existenzgründung und Unternehmertum. For more information about the Commitment Award, please visit the Brandt School website at www.brandtschool.de/commitment-award.
So our first guest today is Laura Barrios, who will tell us a little bit about her project. Welcome to the show, Laura.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
First, Laura, can you tell me a bit about yourself? What is your background and what brought you here to Erfurt and to the Brandt School?
So I'm from Colombia. I'm studying currently a master's in public policy in the area of concentration of conflict studies and management. I'm in second year, so right now I'm about to finish my master's degree.
And where specifically do your academic interests lie in the conflict management area?
In Colombia, of course, but more in the gender part, so in the reintegration and gender topics.
And so, do you have any short information about your master thesis, what you're writing about?
Yeah, I'm writing my master thesis about the reintegration of former female FARC combatants in Colombia.
Moving on to your Commitment Award idea, firstly, what is the name of your project, please?
The name of my project is Community-Based Tourism for Reconciliation.
What inspired you to create this project?
So, I was doing the field work of my thesis. I went to Colombia, and there are some transitory zones where FARC combatants are being reintegrated into the society. And I visited them and I conducted their participant observation, so I stayed with them. And in that moment, I realized that myself, I had some stereotypes about FARC combatants. So I thought before going there, they were kind of violent or dangerous. But then when I was there, I realized another reality. So my whole perceptions about them changed. And I realized that if more people had the opportunity to see who these people are, then we can do something for the reconciliation of our country if we change our stereotypes about them.
For those who might not be familiar, would you mind giving a very brief history of the conflict so we can understand?
Yes. So in Colombia, we have dealt with more or less than 52 years long conflict between the government and guerrilla groups. One of them, the largest in Latin America, was the FARC guerrilla group. And in 2016, they signed an agreement between the government and this guerrilla. The DDR process, like disarmament, mobilization, and reintegration process has started. They laid down the weapons already, and as I said before, they are being reintegrated into the society.
That's a great idea. Could you just tell us in more detail what are the main objectives of your project and where it will be implemented and how?
So the main object of my project is to contribute to the reconciliation between FARC combatants and conflict-affected communities in La Montañita, Caquetá. It's a rural zone of Colombia, southern part of Colombia, where, as I said before, I conducted my field research of the master thesis. So the objective is to, with a community-based tourism, is to attract tourists to this zone to see, to share, like with these former combatants. So it helps, like, first of all, the combatants to have a different mean of life and don't depend on the government. Secondly, it helps, like, as I said before, like the tourists to change their views about these former combatants. And thirdly, and most important, one of the other issues about the reintegration is that communities have to see, like, the benefits of this reintegration. Otherwise, they won't agree on it, and they will, like, hidden the process of reintegration. So the third and most important part is that with this community-based tourism, the idea is to help the neighboring communities of these zones. So the idea is to offer a package for the tourist that consists on two main, like, plans. The first one is the, as we call it, transitory zones walk, where the tourists can walk in this transitory zone. They can share with former combatants, they can see how they live, they can visit the productive projects that they have. And the other part is the historical and cultural walk, where people can go through the zone and visit the natural attractions of the zone. And while doing this, they will visit, like, these 5 families, and they can sell them the products like milk, meat, or whatever they are producing. So that will help not only former FARC combatants to not depend on the government, but also the neighboring communities, so they can benefit from this reintegration process.
What inspired you to take the tourism approach to this particular issue?
Because I think if we talk about reconciliation, it has to be, like, something that is fun. It's not something like, for instance, when we talk about workshops or something like really academic stuff. That's really, like, they can gather in a room and they can talk about the problems, but it's not that funny as if you go as a tourist and you visit the zone and you are doing, like, really cool activities, like, for instance, visiting the natural attractions like caves, rivers. So it's really like learning by doing or reconciliating by doing.
And what are the biggest challenges you expect to find there?
So the biggest challenge is that reconciliation is a long-term process, first of all. And secondly, and most important, that the peace agreement is something, as in every country, fragile. So, and right now in Colombia, actually in 2 weeks, we will have our presidential elections, the second round, and we will decide who is going to be our next president. So the two options are either a person who is willing to change the agreements, and the other one who wants to keep it, but the probability that the first one is going to win is really high. So the situation is really unstable, and so if they don't see that they have the guarantees to continue this reintegration process, the probability of them going back to the work is really high. So that's the biggest challenge.
And how will you plan to address the instability surrounding these agreements?
I mean, this is the worst case situation. And if this happens, it's going to be not only a really bad situation for my country, but also for the international community, because all the eyes of the international community are right now in Colombia. Because if this process is successful, then they will have like the input to address other conflicts in other zones. So this is really the worst case scenario. We are hoping that the peace agreements are going to be implemented to the end, and if not, like the international community is going to do something. But as I said, this is really the worst case scenario.
So now talking a little bit about the future plans, should you be successful in being funded by the Commitment Award, what will your first step be? And what is your ultimate goal for this project?
Okay, so the first step is with the Commitment Award prize is to buy like the basic stuff for the package, like offering the tourist package. So it will be like boots, like uniforms for the tourist guys, like all the signals, also like a little bit of publicity to start like the project. So the idea is in October, when I'm done with my master's, is to go back and start like a pilot phase, and then see, because we already talked this in this zone, they agree on that. There is a committee of tourism in FARC. We already talked with the communities. So it's really like we only need the money to start like the project. And then in the pilot phase, we will implement it. The idea is to attract more or less like 20 tourists per month and see how it works. And then after the 3 months, we will start like the project as such. And the idea is in this first phase, I'm going to be like there in the zone, but afterwards they have to continue the process. And in the future is like to promote or to implement other services or other tourist packages. And if this works, it can be implemented in other zones, not only in Caquetá, but also in Tolima or in the other transitory zones where FARC combatants are being reintegrated into the society.
So if I understand you correctly, there's the sustainability through your local partners who are involved in tourism there, and also the idea of expansion to other areas. Is that right?
Exactly. That's the sustainability of the project.
And on a personal level, what's next for you? You said you're writing your thesis, and do you have any exciting goals or aspirations coming up?
I mean, my passion has been always to work for my country. I'm really, even if I stay here in Germany or if I go back to Colombia, I really want to work for my country, for this peace process that I think it needs people to work for it. And we have a really huge window of opportunity right now in my country, and I really want to take this opportunity to work for it.
And now our last question is, what has been the best part or the most valuable lesson from your experience here in the Brand School?
Okay, I think that there are many. I cannot say like one, but first of all, to work in a really highly diverse environment with people from all over the world has been like a challenge, but also a great lesson that I've learned. So all my multicultural skills have improved. And secondly, to have the opportunity to be in the CSMP track, on the conflict track, has helped me to know more about my country and to really understand more, not only my perspective towards it, but other perspectives about this conflict, and to try to find like solutions, not to end the conflict, but to address it.
Well, that's all the time we have for this segment. Laura, thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
Thank you very much for you both.
It was so wonderful to learn more about the reintegration process with the FARC, and also to hear about your tourism-based approach to helping to solve conflict.
So, our next guest is Ibrahim Koitan. He's our first-year student, and he will tell us a little bit about his project. Welcome to the show, Ibrahim.
Thank you.
Ibrahim, to begin, can you tell us a bit about yourself, such as your background and what brought you here to the Brand School?
Yeah. So I'm from Ghana. I did political science and French, and then I'm at the Brand School studying international affairs and European public policy.
And you're a first-year student.
Yeah.
So have you decided what areas you'd like to specialize in? Is there a particular topic that you're really enthusiastic about?
Yeah, I'm mostly interested in European public policy because I believe, as from someone from Africa with the African Union, there is a lot we can learn from the EU. So that's my area of concentration.
And could you tell us what is the name of your project?
The project is called Water is Life. Water is Life project. Yeah.
What inspired you to create Water is Life?
Well, when I was in Ghana, we had one other project in a village that was a library project. And on our way to the library project, we realized actually that there's a small village on our way that had a bigger problem. They did not have water, potable water. And so that was really a big problem. So, we saw the people walking, the children walking on their way. And then we're like, why are they walking so far for water? And so that interested us, and we made further researches and realized, they don't have potable water.
So you really realized they're
Yeah.
at that place,
Yeah.
and you wouldn't have otherwise been aware.
Yeah, so and what are the main objectives of your project, and where specifically it will be implemented and how?
Yeah, the location is Kramokrom. Kramokrom is in the Gan West municipality in Ghana. And the area is really interesting. There are many other communities in Ghana that do not have potable water. But what is special about this community is the demographics of it. 45% of the population in that community are children. And children, and then the active age is also for about 40%, from 18 to 35. And they do not have access to potable water. They have to walk 5 kilometers a day. So what happens is that the children go to the riverside, which is about 5 kilometers from the village every day, and fetch water. And that is the same river where they also take their showers, they do everything, and they fetch the same water and bring it back home. And so it has two effects on them. First of all, by the time they get home, they are very tired to go to school. So they go to school very late. They don't concentrate very much, so it affects their academic performance. But the bigger problem is that from the health service in the village, they said the village has a lot of waterborne diseases because the water is not clean. It's the same water, the same river they bath in, they do everything, and it's the same water they drink. So the objective of the project is to combat waterborne diseases in the village, one, and on the other side, to improve the education of the children.
For those who may not be familiar with the topic of safe drinking water, what causes this to be a problem in the first place in terms of the infrastructure? And also, you'd mentioned a bit, but what are the specific effects on the communities that are impacted?
Yeah. So first of all, to get something as common as water, which is a basic element of life, somebody has to spend about half a day just to get water. So half a day is already gone, and the other half, just looking for water for half a day is a lot. And there's a lot of walking in there. Their children mostly do this job, and they do not go to school. And the long-term effect is that it affects generation to generation because these children cannot get the education that they need, and that is a very big problem.
And how do you fix this problem?
So after we surveyed the area, we took our engineers there at the time, and the engineers looked at the village, and they told us, we could get water from the ground. And so after planning, we decided together with the engineers that a mechanized pump is possible in the village. And the difference is that because it comes straight deep underground, the water is very clean. So there's no need for treatment, there's no need for long walking, and it's mechanized because there's also no need for too much manpower. You just have to pump it a bit, and within seconds you get clean water.
And what are your biggest challenges, and how do you plan on addressing them?
Yeah, our biggest challenges is maintenance, because the community itself is a farming community, and even though we have some young people doing metal work and brick works, dealing with a mechanized borehole and maintaining it would be a challenge. But what we've decided is that as part of the project design, because maintenance is everything in project. So we've designed it in such a way that those young people who are into bricks and metal work, we're going to train some of them, volunteers, for basic borehole maintenance. And so they would be able to repair them in case of any basic need. And if it's very sophisticated, then we'll have to bring back our engineers. But for the everyday maintenance of the borehole, it will be done by volunteers in the village. Of course, money is also important for maintenance. And for that, we have plans for the community to have a committee, which would involve the chief and then elders and other people selected by the village. But also in that committee, we are going to have some members of the Rotary Club of Adentra Centra, with whom this project is going to be implemented. And so what they are going to do is to design a plan based on the condition and need of the village to raise contribution money. And that money is going to be used also for maintenance.
Out of curiosity, how much does it cost to implement such a project? For the pump, buying the material, and actually implementing it.
Yep. So our budget is 2,700 euros. We were so lucky because with the drilling, we do not, because it's a mechanized pump hole, we don't have to make a big hole like usually what we do with boreholes. Usually you do a big hole and you put bricks inside. That is very, very expensive. But with the mechanized one, they just have to drill tiny holes straight into the ground and then put the equipment in there. So there's no need for bricks to arrange in the hole or anything. So it makes it efficient and cheaper.
That's a big change for 2,700 euros.
Yeah.
Looking to the future, should you be successful in securing funding from the Commitment Award, what would your very first step be for your project?
The very first step would be assessing the community again, because we did that already. But there's a difference between having the money and not having the money. When you have the money, then there's so much you could do. So we would assess the community again, have meetings with the elders and the chiefs of the village. And then from there, we will move to the implementation stage, where we are going to implement the project within from November to around April. So within 6 months, the project can be implemented. And then we're going to have a training stage where we're going to train those young men and women in basic maintenance. And then the evaluation stage, where we plan to send people into the community every 3 months and to measure the impact of the project. And the impact measurement is quite easy because reducing waterborne diseases, we could obtain data from the health service within the implementation period and see any changes. And also we could measure attendance, student attendance, and quality of results. So monitoring should be quite easy.
What is the ultimate goal for your project?
Well, the ultimate goal is to try and solve these two problems that specifically for that village, which is trying to prevent waterborne diseases and improving the educational system for the children. But then the ultimate goal would be to raise awareness about water, lack of potable water in places in Ghana or all over the world. And so by implementing this project, it's not just about the village, but it goes beyond the village. It's going to raise awareness through like what we are doing now. And then probably you could have government, NGOs willing to undertake such projects in other villages with similar problems.
And on a personal level, what's next for you? You're a first-year student, so would you be going out there yourself, or would you manage it remotely? What have you thought about for this?
Yeah, such project really needs a lot of presence on site. So this project, I'm doing it together with the Rotary Club of Adenta Central, which is not far from the project site. And Rotary clubs are known for doing projects. And so they would be the partners on site, visiting the project sites every now and then. But I would also be in Ghana for my internship in August. So if we should win the award and get the money, I will also be on the ground for at least 3 months for the initial implementation process.
And so now I know that you're just in the first year, so still have another year to go. But what has been the best part from your experience at the Brand School so far?
Well, that is interesting. Well, I've really enjoyed my stay at the Brand School for now. My best part has been the content of my studies. I've really learned a lot. Really, within this 1 year, I've learned a lot. And not just learning by reading or going to class, but also my interaction with the diverse group of people I have in my class. I mean, in Brand School, I've met people from countries that I would never have met, from all over the world. And I've learned a lot from them, a lot from their cultures. And I think that is the ultimate and most important part of my stay.
Well, that's all the time we have for this segment. Ibrahim, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you.
It was wonderful to learn more about safe and clean drinking water in Ghana and about your project proposal.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim.
Thank you.
So our next guest is Joana Botia Diaz. She will tell us a little bit about her project. Welcome to the show, Joana.
Thank you. Thank you for this great invitation.
To begin, can you tell us a bit just about yourself? What's your background and what brought you here to the Brand School?
Okay. Well, I'm from Colombia. I'm 26 years old. Oh, no, 27. I just turned 27. And my background is in economics. I studied that in a public university in Colombia. And I wanted to travel the world and get to know many different cultures. And that brought me to the Willy Brandt School. And
You're a first-year student, is that
Yes,
is that
I'm
right?
a first-year student studying currently the conflict track. That's pretty much.
Is there a particular area that you're really interested in terms of the conflict management?
Actually, yes. As many of you should know, my country is facing a post-conflict situation after a peace agreement, and I'm really interested in the labor reintegration of ex-former guerrillas, pretty much in the labor market.
So then now coming to your project idea, what is the name of your project?
Well, in Spanish, it would be trabajoporlapaz.com, which translates something like workforpeace.com. It is a website. And it is supposed to be a platform to match job seekers with companies that are willing to take them. But these job seekers is a very specific population, a very special population, because it's targeted to former guerrillas members and as well to victims of the conflict, because many projects are now being focused just on the ex-guerrillas members, and many development aid and many money is being given to the reinsertion just of the ex-combatants, but no one is really thinking in the victims. So I want to do this website to match the job seekers from this specific population with the companies, especially because the companies, there is a law in Colombia, it was in 2010, And if these companies employ this kind of population, they're going to receive discounts in tax income and also in parafiscal contributions.
Can you explain for those who may not be familiar why this particular group that you're hoping to help is disadvantaged in the labor market in the first place?
Yeah. Well, these people were part of a guerrilla for the last 50 or 60 years. And many of them have not been ever trained to how to look for jobs. They have always lived maybe in rural areas, and now they are moving to the cities. And also, yeah, it's part of the reconciliation process. Like the main population, the normal population or the civil population in the cities are not willing to welcome them a lot. So that's the government is creating this kind of tax discounts or incentive for the companies so they can employ them.
Great. And what inspired you to create this project? I mean, how did you get interested in this region? I think you come from Colombia, but why specifically you want to tackle this particular topic?
Well, I think this is a very specific population, and once I was just thinking, how is Germany doing with the refugees? How is this process working with the refugees integration? And for example, how do they get jobs here? And I found out about a website called Refugees at Work or refugeeswork.at, something from Austria. And they basically do the same. So at the beginning, I thought, okay, maybe let's see how this website is working. Now, after that, I found different similar companies that are doing the same around the world. And they like a kind of social entrepreneurship initiative to match disadvantaged population with jobs or with companies. And I thought at the beginning, okay, maybe it would be a great idea to do it with the ex-guerrillas member, because one of the parts of articles of the peace agreement is to reintegrate them in the civil, economic, and political life in Colombia. But then I started brainstorming with many people, and they gave me more ideas. And some of them mentioned, but why just to the ex-combatants? Because there are many things that are being now focused on them. And there was actually a housewife that told me, you should focus also on victims, because last week in Colombia, in Bogota, there was a band of smugglers that they were smuggling like removing parts of cars and reselling them. And when they were captured, there were actually two families. And when they asked, okay, what is the background of this family? Actually, there were displaced people. And that means they were victims of the conflict, and they went to the cities and they didn't have any opportunity to work. So the only chance that they had was starting smuggling cars. So I thought about including them. Also because in Colombia there is a register for the victims, and also a registration office for the ex-combatants. So it would be kind of easy to get access to the population that have these certificates and certified the companies that they're actually employing this population and that they get their tax discount.
What are the main objectives of your project, and how do you measure that?
Okay, like the main objective would be the facilitating the labor market integration of ex-combatants, internally displaced people, and other registered victims of the Colombia conflict. But for this, I will have like 3 specific objectives. The first one will be connect the companies offering jobs and the targeted population, which will be done through the website. The second one would be train the job seekers to access the job market in Colombia. That would be like providing the workshops, how to do a CV, how to go to an interview, how to live in the city, how to apply for these companies, because many of this population have no idea how to do it. And the third one would be offer companies consulting in the bureaucracy process on how to obtain these tax discounts from employing these ex-combatants, internally displaced people, and other registered victims.
What are the biggest challenges you expect to find during the implementation phase of this project?
Well, a lot. I think the main or the first challenge will be to gain the trust of both the companies and this population, because the companies, they're kind of skeptical about the training or job skills that this population may have. But still, there are still companies that are now doing it without the help of any website, but it's still like they have to do it on their own. And pretty big companies like Coca-Cola and other big companies in Colombia are doing it. So I just have to make the match with them or partner with them, and also the trust of the target population, because in Colombia there have been so many projects and plans and government initiative to help them, like giving them land or helping them with subsidize or something, but I think they do not trust too much the institutions. So that's the idea of having this private company, but at the same time with a social goal. I think it would be easy to work with the community and to gain them. And once it is done, I mean, like gaining know-how, because it would be like learning by doing.
In terms of the practical technical elements, who would be doing the web design? And do you think that people would have internet access and be able to find the website as well?
Mm-hmm. Well, there is a company called Taller Ingenio in Colombia. They are a startup, and they have been working in this social initiative, and they did the last project related with this conflict situation was to make all the technological presentation of the Historical Memory Museum. So they kind of have experience on how to web this kind of technological stuff related with the conflict in Colombia. And what was it? The technical thing, and what was the other thing?
It was whether the users would be able to access the site as well. Yeah,
that's also including the specific objective number 2, because we're going to train them to use the website. Many of them, inclusive, they are illiterate. So what we plan to do is to gather in these workshops. Okay, we be divided the population, the ones that can read and write and use a computer. They will be taught how to use the website. But those that have no idea, then we have a formula, and we are willing to interview them and put their skills in a CV and a formula and put it in the website and pass these documents to the employers.
What is next for you? I mean, you're the first year, and then you still have a second year of your studies in front of you. What are your projects? Do you have any exciting internships in sight, or how do you expect the second year to go?
Well, I'm now going to do an internship in Colombia, actually with the researching group WISC, which is one of going to be the partners of my project if I win. And if I don't win also, because I will still do it. And mostly, I will use my internship to work a little bit on this project, because then actually I'm going to do another second internship, which will be with the Center of Historical Memory in Colombia. And with them, I might have access to the ex-combatants, but from the paramilitaries that were demobilized in 2010. So with these internships, I plan to increase my networking and work a little bit on the project. And then in October, I will be back here in Germany in my third semester, learning about ethical issues, or I don't know which other assignatures are being presented in the third semester. But and then write my thesis project, which is also related with this idea.
So if you are successful in being funded by the Equipment Award, you will be in Colombia with your host internship organization, and they will help you with this particular project.
If I win the Commitment Award, and if I don't win the Commitment Award, but I'm going to win, anyway, I will be in Colombia. Mm-hmm. And anyway, I will work on the project, because I think there are other social grants that I can apply for it, even in Colombia. Because as I said, there is many money being moved around the conflict situation or post-conflict situation in Colombia. So I have to do my internship because it's part of the program, and I want to use it, of course, to fill the requirement, but to increase as a person, and if that can help me to bring or to build the network that I need to for doing this project, I'm going to do it as well.
Great. And now can you tell us what has been so far the best part or the most valuable lesson from your experience here in the Brand School?
Well, of course, the internationality of the student body. It has been really amazing and challenging to study with people from very, very, very different backgrounds in an academic level, but of course from a national level. Like, I think it's challenging sometimes when they have different opinions or when they have been raised in a different way that I was raised. So it kind of challenged myself, because I always say, yes, I'm a very open-minded person. But when it comes to respect or consider what other people believe, even if I think is not in the same direction of my belief, it's funny. But at the same time, well, I mean, I have fun with my classmates. I think I learned from them.
Well, that's all the time we have for this segment. Joanna, thank you for joining us on the show. It was wonderful to learn more about your project idea for a website in your native Colombia.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation. And if you're hearing this and you also want to sponsor the project, please contact me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And well, our next guest is Nabila Khalid Parvez, who will tell us a little bit about her project. Welcome to the show, Nabila.
Thank you so much. I'm Nabila Khalid Parvez. I'm from Pakistan. I have organized this project with Usman Khan and Arslan Yasin. They are also Willy Brandt school students, and I'm graduating this year from Willy Brandt. I was doing my social work in Pakistan from last 6 years, and I have worked in many different organizations related to women rights, child rights, and democracy empowerment in Pakistan.
Before we get into the specific project, you had just mentioned quite a bit about your background. It sounds very interesting. But what brought you here to the Brandt School in the first place?
Mm-hmm. So in Pakistan, as I said, I was working for women rights and child rights. So it's a very complicated situation there. We need policy formulation. So Willy Brandt is one of the most brilliant school in the world regarding public policy. So I was really motivated to come here to learn more about how to make public policies and how can we make local policies better. So this was very helpful for me at that time.
So you're now currently in the second year of your studies, right?
I am second year.
So what specifically you're writing about for your master thesis? What are your specific academic interests in general? It's public policy, but more specifically women's rights, and is there anything else?
Yeah, while studying here, I found it really interesting that in Germany there are many international people and students and then refugees, and economically those people are somehow making so many contributions in German economy. So my interest was studying that, so I chose entrepreneurship among immigrants in Germany. So I'm looking in trends, what immigrants are usually going for while doing their small businesses and startups. So I'm looking their challenges and opportunities as well in this sector.
Moving on to your Commitment Award project idea. Firstly, what is the name of your project?
So it's Har Bachcha Mehfoos. It's a Urdu name, and English translation is Every Child's Safety.
And what inspired you to create this project? I mean, how did you get interested in this problem or topic in the first place?
So I'm part of an organization in Pakistan. It's BELI. It's particularly working on child education, child rights, and women development and youth rights. So our organization has already organized several projects in this area to empower women and to bring better education system for children. So this idea was about recent. It's not recent issue, but recently it's coming in the mainstream media. Child sexual abuse in Pakistan, every day almost 11 children get sexually abused, and these are the cases that are registered. Due to cultural sensitivity, there are many cases that are not being reported. So our motivation is to educate teachers of local community and then those teachers will train further teachers, and then those teachers will train children. So we are gonna target on 315 schools, and we will train 350 teachers with the assistant education officers, and then those 315 teachers will further train other teachers. And in those area we got already data from education department, and 34,000 students are registered there. So we are gonna train them through those teachers, and then it's gonna be 68,000 parents who will be getting benefit from this project. So it will be a start from like a small level, but then it will get larger scale.
When you say you will train the teachers, is this to help to prevent the child sexual abuse, or is this to help report it, or is it a combination of raising awareness and practical components as well?
Yeah, it's a combination, but you have to understand that in Pakistan, child sexual abuse, talking about this issue is a taboo. So at the first level, we have to start something. We have to break the silence. So this project is about making awareness and bringing a new way of thinking about child upbringing.
Where will the project be implemented?
So we researched about this, and in Pakistan, Khushab is the area that's second most affected area in the whole country. So we already talked with education department. We have support from local politicians. We have support from local stakeholders. As you know, in Pakistan, religious scholars are really important. So we have support from all these actors. And yeah, this area needs more attention. And there are almost no local organizations or NGOs or government departments who are working on this issue. So it's much needed to work there.
What are your expected biggest challenges? How do you intend to address them?
As I already told, in Pakistani community, people don't talk about sexual education. It's a taboo. So first of all, our biggest challenge is to silence the break and make them realize that this is an issue and we have to talk about this. And then local leaders, they can create a problem because they are not ready to accept that this problem really exists. This is the second biggest challenge for us, but then some economic challenges are also there, and some cultural acceptance issues are there.
Who will design the curriculum for the teachers, and who will be training as well?
So this project has 4 phases. In the first phase, we will design a manual for teachers to organize the activities, delivery methods, and the approaches, how they can teach students how they can be sensitive about their own body and everything. This is the first phase. This manual will be designed by education department and experts from different NGOs who are already working on this area. And then in second phase, we are gonna do pre-implementation surveys from the area, and then we have implementation process, and then at 4th level we are gonna evaluate the data and everything.
In case you're successful in being funded by the Commitment Award, what is your first step? What will your first step be, and what is your ultimate goal for the project?
Our first step is to create that manual and talk with education department in detail and get the trainers from there, because we need professional people to deliver these trainings. So at the first level, we are making manual. our ultimate goal is to stop child sexual abuse and to make people aware that this is a really problem. At international level, Pakistan does not have a good image. In recent past, we got a lot of child sexual abuse cases, and that was really disturbing for the whole nation and for other communities in the region as well. So our ultimate goal is to create awareness, and then through this project, we, as I mentioned, we have a large number of people who are gonna get benefits, but on the other side, as a student of public policy, we envision to affect policies. So our main goal is to create better policies on child rights and these issues.
And how about yourself? Would you go to Pakistan and be there physically during the project?
Yes, we, as my other team members are also from Pakistan and from this particular region. So we already have some links there, and those links are really valuable for us to implement this project, and we will go physically there.
And now on a more personal level, what has been the best part or the most valuable lesson from your experience here in the Brand School so far?
As I was really interested to study policy formulations and everything, and as now I'm taking an initiative to approach policies in my region, in my area. So this is what I have learned here, and I am proud of. Willy Brandt School has really given me the spirit to start from something to make a change at bigger level. And yeah, we are change makers, and Willy Brandt made us.
Well, that's all the time we have for this segment. Nabila, thank you so much for joining us here on the show.
Welcome.
It was wonderful to learn more about your teacher education project to tackle the issue of child sexual abuse in Pakistan.
Great. Thank you so much, Nabila. Well, our next guest is Amit Tyagi, who will tell us a little bit about his project. Welcome to the show, Amit.
Thank you. So the project is in central India, and there is a region in India, it's called Vidarbha, and this region is very famous for all not good reasons. It's the highest farmer suicide rate in the world. So there are 3 districts, Wardha, Amravati and Yavatmal. So these farmers, mainly they grow cotton, and this problem is not new now. It's like as old as colonial time. Britishers would make farmers grow cotton and then bring cotton to Lincolnshire, process the cotton, make fabric, and then go and sell it around the world. So more or less the same things are still happening. There are some companies or people with more capital, and then they actually buy cotton on very cheap prices, and then cotton goes to some big mills and then the process, and then it goes to maybe now Bangladesh. Then people produce final clothes, and that's how the whole life cycle of cotton to cloth is. So we are actually working to improve the value chain at village level.
Before we get into the specifics of your project, I'd like to back up just a little bit and ask you just a bit about yourself and your background, including what brought you to the Brandt School in the first place.
So, well, I said I'm from India, and before coming to Germany, actually I worked in consulting for 8 years, in corporate consulting for Fortune 500 companies, and then one day in 2011 I decided that that's not what I'm supposed to do. So that's not something that I really want to continue. So I quit my career and I started working, taking part in social projects. And then I got involved in Indian politics. So I worked with Indian Youth Congress as a national training coordinator for 2 years. And then I realized need to understand governance and policy making process. So I decided to actually come here. And then I wanted to come to Germany because for me, I had this imagination that there's one country which was collapsed almost 2 times, and they still could rebuild that, and a lot of countries are still struggling to build them. So what is there, what is different they're doing? So I decided to come to Germany.
So you just finished your studies. Could you tell us a little bit about your academic interest in specific? What kind of topics you're interested about? What was the topic of your master thesis, for instance?
I wrote my master thesis on food security in India, but I think I always have this trouble that to narrow down my concern, why I left my job and my family to one specific topic, I think it's, in my humble view, it's like incorrect approach, because it's not possible. Issues, they do not exist in isolation, and we can't right. It's really important to understand issue on micro level and specific, but not forgetting the context, the larger context, why things are there. So I always had this trouble with the academics. So sometimes it was making sense, but sometimes the context was lost. So I had to deal with this trouble. But then finally, because I had to write my thesis, so I focused on food security in India. And then like the major problem was with the distribution system.
Well, this is a good segue to talk about your project, because of course this is applying those abstract academic ideas. To begin, what is the name of the project that you're proposing? So
we call it Vidarbha Peace Project, and we consciously and purposely call it a peace project because we don't want to limit it to an economic project. So I come up with a working model and I call it LIFE, which means liberation inside 4 E's. And these 4 E's are economics, environment, ethics, and education. And I believe that you can't actually separate issues. They are closely interlinked and interdependent on one another. So if you want to have peace and harmony in the society, whatever level you choose, a village or you choose like a country or whatever, so these 4 phenomena have to be balanced in some way or other. Otherwise, there will always be some problem. For example, the so-called third world or developing world, it has so-called more environmental and economic problems. But at the same time, the so-called first world has a lot of ethical problems, has a lot of problems pertaining to anxiety, loneliness, insecurities. So we're not free from problems anywhere, but the nature of problems are different, and therefore the solutions may appear different on surface level, but they are somewhere deeply rooted and interconnected. So we call it Vidarbha Peace Project.
And what inspired you to create this project? How did you get interested in this specific region in the first place?
Well, I was interested in, I was always moved by seeing people worried, and that brought me to the larger problem of economic problem, and that India is like 18% of global population. So I'm not working in India because I'm born in India. I'm rather trying to focus on a population which actually has the largest piece in the pie. So if you see the economic and environmental problems, and India alone contributes a lot. So that's why I decided to work in India. And then if you want to work in India, one of the biggest sector that we have to focus on is agrarian sector, because it employs about 65% of Indian population directly and indirectly. And then if you want to work on agriculture, you go to Vidarbha because it's like the worst condition. And then you go to Vidarbha. Then I did survey in few districts like in this region. And then we ended up going to a village which has all these problems. Apart from these problems, this village is surrounded by river from 3 sides, so there is no connectivity, and they have to go out of the village for day-to-day life things, for example, children for education, and they don't have any bridge over the rivers and anything. So I found this in the worst place. So I said, okay, that's where I have to station. That's my base camp.
And what is your project's approach to these complex problems?
So like 2 ways. Solution from within and solution from outside. And solution, when I say solution from within, I think this understanding of the causes of problem have to be realized within the this population. Like for example, now we're working in the village, so within village people have to realize that these are the really sources of the problems, causes of the problems. And then there are some problems that have impact in larger context, for example, global economic problems. So it's both ways, like I work inward, like from within, so inside out and outside inside, like it's both way the approach that we want to work, we actually work with.
Okay, and what are the main objectives of your project?
So, well, in larger context, what we're trying to do is to develop this situation of peace and harmony, but like bringing down to specific, we're working on these 4 phenomena in the village, and which is education, ethics, and environment and economics. And then coming down to this economic problem, so this region farmers grow more cotton. So coming back to cotton now, cotton has its life cycle, and then cotton to cloth is a very very long process, and it's just not known by any of the stakeholders which are involved in the process. So our objective is to improve the value chain and process end-to-end cotton inside the village. And we already started working on this. We've already conducted training session for weaving. But there are stages like pre-spinning and post-spinning. So right now we're working on pre-spinning, like end-to-end. So one of the stages would be ginning cotton. It's very technical, so there are many steps involved, like ginning, pressing, carding, and then processing, and then you have a thread. Like it's pre-spinning, and after thread then you have looms, and so those are like post-spinning when you make fabrics. So our objective is to develop the whole unit, and right now with this project money, what we want to do is to buy a ginning machine and an oil expeller. So what happens is that when you take out cotton, you have to pick cotton from the fields, and you have this cotton, and it also has cotton seed. So you have to separate cotton seed from cotton, and it's like 30% of cotton and 60% of the weight of the cotton seed. So we separate this in the village, and we process this. So this is called ginning. Like in ginning process, you separate this, and then you have this fine cotton which can be further sent for further processing for making thread. And this seed, we will process this, so there will be cotton seed oil and cotton seed cakes which can be used for cattle feed or something. So the idea with this project, like this specific project money, is to install these two machines, ginning machine and oil expeller. So we can process like one step further in our larger vision of producing everything in the village, so that we can distribute the wealth in a fairer manner.
So it's a technological solution to one very small specific component of this larger problem.
And what are the expected biggest challenges, and how do you intend to address them?
So, well, usually when we start a new project, the challenges are like you have to go to a new place and acceptance and participation of local community. But we are already far from this. Like, we've already done this, so it's like previous steps. I think one of the biggest challenges that I see is that if we install these machines in the village, so there is also inequality within village. So you have farmers which have land, those who have land. There are farmers who don't have land. So they work in the land of these farmers. So it's kind of still this economic inequality, also gender inequality. So one of the major challenge for us is to balance this, to operate in such a way that those who need more should get more, and everybody should have feeling that they should get more. So like it's again like working on ethical this foundation. So to me this is the biggest challenge, but I think we already started working on this because we had discussions with people who had land, and we had discussions with people who didn't have land. So landless labor has to work for 9 hours in 48-degree temperature for 150 rupees, like €2, and those who have land, they often work comparatively less. They are still in bad conditions but better off than these people. So to distribute wealth in such a way that it actually works to solve this inequality problem also.
Looking to the future, should you be successful in securing funding from the Commitment Award, what would your very first step be for your project?
Well, first project is, we are regularly, day to day, we are in touch with village team. We have the whole team, they are working on this. So we tell them that, okay, we get funding for the machine. So start the process.
Mm-hmm. And in terms of sustainability of the project, you have those local partners who
we have many local partners. Yeah. So Mahatma Gandhi, when he was leading the freedom movement, he actually stayed in this region for 12 years. So in India, you have a concept of ashram, which means like a premises, like a place where everybody would come and live with these values, with these objectives, keeping apart their personal day-to-day life. So Gandhi lived there 12 years. So Gandhi Ashram is one of the biggest institutions. He also set up some institutions like Gram Seva Mandal in 1930 with an objective to work on local and village economy to empower farmers. So these institutions are also helping us. So we are in touch with all these. So there is also like another ashram from another philosopher, Vinoba Bhave. So all these local activists in this region, we are actually working with all of them. So because technically also, like Silco Foundation is helping us to find these small machines and install them in the village. They work on the technical part, and Gram Seva Mandal, they work on the whole scale, but it's like a whole process, but it's very big scale. So we get like support in terms of what kind of cotton, what kind of threads, like very technical actually thing. So we get a lot of support and assistance and all kind of things from everyone actually.
And zooming out, you had touched on this in terms of naming the project to be a peace project. What is the ultimate goal, the really big picture goal for this?
The state of deep satisfied mind for individual and for society. So specifically for individual, a state of deep satisfied mind is peace.
So now coming a little bit out of the project and more in terms of you and your future plans, what is next for you then? Now that you finish your studies, what are your future plans?
Well, I don't have a future plan. I just have wishes that I want to live this way. And coming back to the central discourse of my peace and peace, my work is not limited to India. So I'm also working in Germany, setting up an NGO called Peace Foundation now. And because we have different type of problems, so I'm organizing workshops like peace workshops and primarily discussing things more on. So the workshop has a structure, and we talked about active, effective, compassionate listening, because it's one of the reasons people really feel that they are just not heard of in terms of really. And I also teach meditation, and we talked about economic problems also and how we can take part in solving these problems. For example, fair participation in fair trade or more ecological lifestyle or ecological footprints. So yeah, that's what I'm going to village people have donated some piece of land, so they want to build an ashram for me and big library, so I will settle there and then work in and around India with this vision.
Well, that's actually all the time we have for this segment. Amit, thank you so much for joining us on the show. It's fantastic to hear about your project.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, that's the last of our interviews for today. Next week, we will have a second segment of our Commitment Award episode. And once again, more information about the award is available on the Brant School website at www.brantschool.de/commitment-award. You can find out more about our show on the Bulletin blog page at thebulletin.brantschool.de. If you have any questions, comments, or suggestions for future shows, feel free to contact us via the blog. Until next time, work hard and change the world.